Welcome to FreedomCast, a podcast dedicated to interviewing star icons and entrepreneurs who have encouraged others to become more healthy and active. My name is Ashton, and it's my pleasure to host you as we take another trip through the fitness industry. It's entertaining and informative, and I hope it makes fitness more exciting and special to you in your own fitness journey. FreedomCast is supported by Freedom Fitness Equipment in Charlotte, North Carolina. Freedom Fitness Equipment serves the health and fitness community nationwide, from free weights and strength equipment for home gyms and studios to cardio and conditioning equipment for commercial spaces. Check them out at freedomfitnessequipment.com. Let's get rolling with today's show. Welcome, Ken. Appreciate you coming on the podcast. So for those of you who don't know, this is Ken Nowicki. I'm just reading through your bio on Instagram. So former Scotland's strongest man, owner of Cerberus Strength USA. I have questions about that and locations, so stay tuned. He's actually, and I was looking through your stories. You're actually on your way back into strongman competition. So how's training going?
Good. I actually trained early tonight. So everything's good. I deadlift in about 14 hours time, so it's nice. a quick turnaround at times.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's good. I needed the break. I mean, I've not competed in a big contest in about 3 years now.
Wow.
And I needed the break because I mean, I've been doing it since 2006.
Okay.
I mean, my first contest was a week before my 18th birthday, so it's been a long road. My body was broken down. The fire had sort of dissipated a little bit. So, I needed that break. And now, being able to actually get back into it is actually really, really helping things. And I'm actually way further along than I was. Because even though I wasn't competing, I was training. I was still training hard, though. So my strength level is still high, which is a nice. And then my conditions come back as well, which is a really nice thing as well.
Nice. Out of curiosity, what took you out of strongman? Was it injuries or something else going on?
Cerberus, honestly.
Okay.
I was the case of I wanted to grow the business, and I knew that to do that I had to dedicate a hell of a lot more time to it. I mean, I was still putting in hard sessions, but when you're trying to train for the levels I was at, it's just a whole different ballgame. And then to get the business to where I wanted to get, or start moving it toward where I want it to be, is what I really should say. I was doing 80, 100-hour work weeks just to keep it going. Yeah, I was doing a lot. I mean, I brought somebody into the business last November, but until then, it's always been me, just myself. So
wow.
I was realistically doing the job of 4 or 5 people at times.
So when you say it's just you, are you talking about as in you are the only person also doing order fulfillment and all of that stuff?
Yeah, so until November last year, for the US side of stuff, it was me doing. I was doing order fulfillment, I was doing customer service, social media, any content generation we were doing, warehouse management, stock management.
Holy shit.
Yeah, whatever the everything, literally everything.
And
yeah,
I'm looking at when I was looking at your website, I saw, you have strongman gear for pretty much every application, but
yep.
Is it a single location distributing internationally, or do you actually have physical locations all over the world?
So we now have physical. It used to be a case. So it originally Cerberus started out, started in Scotland.
Okay.
2012.
Yep.
And then I moved over here in 2013, and one of my best friends back home, he knows the main, the owners, the two guys who started the company.
Okay.
So when I moved here, they're like, hey, they just started out, about a year and a half into it, sort of thing. They're like, hey, do you want to be a sponsored athlete? And at that point in time, it was literally wrist wraps, knee wraps, and that was all it was. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll, whatever, why not, send me some stuff out, and then maybe a few months later, they were like, do you want to sell some of the stuff? Would you be interested in going down that route? I was like, yeah, sure, why not, and we started exploring it and started doing it a little bit. And it was very low key initially. Really started taking off more 2017, really.
Okay.
And then even then, it wasn't high level. It started to grow more. And then when I started dedicating a lot more time to it, end of summer 2018, then it just started really growing then. But yeah, I mean, So we have the guys at head office in Scotland who they've got it's under a 10-man team or under a 10-person team there, I should say. I think their total staff count is 6 or 7, maybe eight. So they do all the wholesale distribution. They do European distribution, but they have some distributors in in European countries as well. Like they've got Cerberus Germany, they've got Cerberus Norway. I'm trying to think where else they've got there. Denmark and Finland and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But then you've got Cerberus Australia. You've got Cerberus Thailand, New Zealand's now on there too, and these are all individual distributors who have a physical location and do for their country. When I was the first distributor for with the US side of stuff, and I had the whole of North America at one point, but trying to do Canada as well was just not really viable with the customs stuff, and all that sort of stuff. Plus, being US based, like I wasn't getting that reach. You know what I mean? So, I have a friend up in Canada, so he took it over. So the Cerberus Canada, he's been doing it up there for a couple of years, but really he's been doing it since, I think he's been doing it in Canada since 2017 now. I think that's when we split them. But yeah, like when it's been in the US side of stuff, it was just me in one physical location. Anything that came stateside comes through that location, and that's it. Like we work with like Elite FTS and some other stockists, some resellers, I guess. But anything that goes even to them, it all comes through my location first.
Okay, nice. Can you talk a little bit about, just back up a little bit and talk about Cerberus and how the company got started? I didn't even know that you weren't one of the original owners, and then how it's grown to be this national entity or international entity.
International, yeah. So basically, started 2012. The two owners, guy called Callum Liptrot and Peter McDonald Brown, they are in the US, in the UK and Scotland. So Inverness, Scotland is where it's based. And they've been in the fitness industry for a long time. Pete was, I think one of the youngest general manager for I can't remember what gym chain it was in the UK, but he did a lot of that. He was like big in that. Callum has his own set of stuff in different. He was a lot of IT, but then he was in fitness as well, like working out and all that sort of stuff. And the biggest thing that for them was like there was a massive market gap in terms of quality equipment, but at affordable price. Like you'd buy some of the stuff back in the day, because obviously at that point in time there was no SBD, there was no Mark Bell and these other brands. And at that point in time, it was like you get a pair of knee wraps, and it's like a pair of bandages, really. I mean, and even even in 2012, like you had bigger brands then. You had Inzer, you had Titan, but even in the UK, it was limited. Being American brands, they were sort of limited in what you could get, or you were ordering it from the States. So they were like, well, what, we want to provide this, and that's when they started looking into it. And started doing product development, product testing, all that sort of stuff, and that's what really started it out. And then, like I said, when I got it here, it was very much like knee wraps and wrist wraps, and that was really it. And then we started doing sandbags, and because we're all involved, we've all been involved in Strongman. Like myself, I've been involved for 15 years, and they started doing sandbags, and then that's really what got it into the strongman space, and then just identifying, just different products which were either lower quality or missing from a range at times, and then just expanding on that, and really that's what's been. And I think it's pretty safe to say in the strongman space we are probably the top player, in my opinion, for strongman in general. In strength sports, we're definitely becoming more of a top player. Awesome. I think over here it's a bit different because it's such a varied market in the US. There's a lot of companies, but in terms of I think you've got the big three nowadays is probably ourselves, SPD, Mark Bell, and then you've got other smaller companies as well, with equally good product development and all that sort of stuff. I think just for like that's more of like a powerlifting thing,
Yeah.
Like powerlifting has a lot more companies versus strongman, in my opinion. And I think for strongman, that's where we've been involved in it for so long. And I think that's why we sort of gravitated to that more and really made that our focus. But I have seen it now becoming a lot more mainstream as well, like getting into different sports in general.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about how and you're way more involved in this, and obviously I'm a big fan of powerlifting, so I see more in that space. But
Yep.
my impression is that strongman is just exploding off the map, and the point at which World's Strongest Man live streams, I'll be very happy. But anyway, can you talk about how strongman has started to kind of just take off recently, or have you seen any growth in it that's been
Yeah.
previous years?
Well, I mean, for me, like being involved in it for so long, it was very much a niche sport and it obviously still is. But I think the US, because they have like the pro system, that does very well to bring people in, because they've got the amateur side of it, and then you're trying to get a pro card, and that brings a lot of athletes to it, and it becomes a lot more athlete centered, and it helps grow the grassroots level of strongman, bring people in, all that sort of stuff. And whereas in the UK, there's no pro card system, and it's basically a case of, okay, you're going to do like a novice contest, then you're going to do like an intermediate, and then you're into opens, and opens is where you're going to qualify for Scotland's Strongest Man, you're going to qualify for Britain's Strongest Man, and then work up your way through the ranks that way. Like UK's, you go to Giants Live, like Giants Live run, Britain's Strongest Man, Europe's Strongest Man, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got the people who run UK's Strongest Man. So you're qualifying for different contests that way, but it's more of a qualification system. And then over here, like once you get your pro card, you can go to certain shows, if that makes sense, Okay. But it's still pay to play for a lot of them. In the UK, from what I've seen, like I was involved in one of the first Giants Live shows back in 2012, I think it was. Is that right? Okay. 2012 or 2011, or no, 2012, and it was like a qualifier for. Actually, no, it wasn't 2012. It was 2011. It was a qualifier for Worlds.
Okay.
And it was basically like, we're going to get all these guys, and it was literally in the car park, or the parking lot of Darren Sadler, who's now one of the owners of Giants Live. It's his gym.
Oh no way!
And we all went there, and we competed in a parking lot to see who was going to be World's Strongest Man. And then the next year was their first Europe's Strongest Man contest, and that was in a rugby stadium. I think it was 5,000 seats, and they sold it out, and they had a line around the block.
No way.
And they were able to open up more seats and get more people in there, and then it just grew and grew and grew from being a more spectator focused event. I mean, I did Britain's Strongest Man 2018, and I believe the crowd was between 8,000 and 10,000. They've had Europe's Strongest Man, and they sold it out. I want to say it was 15 or 17,000. I can't remember what it was.
Whoa!
But it's very spectator focused, and I think that's what's grown it so much. I think having you've got over here, you've got the more grassroots stuff, and that brings a lot of athletes to it. But in terms of having the actual viewership, that's all that spectator focused side of stuff. Plus, honestly, social media.
Yeah.
And that's I was talking to somebody else the other day, and having social media, it's enabled a lot more for the athletes to actually do and grow themselves. We were talking about how in the UK there's a lot more opportunities for guys to make this their career versus having to work a job and do this on the side. And a lot of it's down to the fact of sponsorships, social media, marketability, being able to actually put content out there. It's like, they're essentially filming their training sessions now.
Yeah.
But because it's done on such a good professional level, plus honestly having personalities, and it's like the Stoltmans. This like I know Tom and Luke personally, and they do such a good job of actually, filming their stuff, filming their training, but then doing stuff aside from that, which is actually captivating, and they bounce off each other so well. And I think that's really what's grown it, being able to actually almost connect with the athlete more.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started, there was no, I don't think there was even Facebook when I first started. Maybe it had just started coming out. I don't even think it was. There was YouTube was probably just starting out, and it's like just having that around, has really changed everything in my opinion. Really changed the way you can actually interact with an athlete, see what they're up to, get way more, just way more accessibility to the entire sport. And I think that's really what's helped it. And having that spectator focused side of it has really increased the sport in general. And like I said, then having the athlete focused has increased the participation.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I've just noticed with guys like Eddie Hall, Brian Shaw, Robert Oberst, Nick Best, those guys are extremely, extremely approachable and seem to be, again, I don't know them personally. You probably could speak this more than I could, but seem to be the same in person that they are on social and in their videos, like very genuine, very, very kind, like, and Robert particularly like hilarious. And the personalities are a huge draw to those kind of events. Like I was just, watching, obviously, I think everybody's watching World's Strongest Man. And, it's like, go Brian, go.
Yeah.
But can you explain for people how strongman training differs from powerlifter and Olympic training, and what kinds of both physical and mental demands are required for that sport, different from, say, just general weightlifting?
Yeah, I mean, so you've got, it's basically just it comes down to energy systems, So you've got, like, if you look at like powerlifting, for instance, you're just maxing out, I say just maxing out,
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, you 3 squats, 3 bench, 2 deadlift, excuse me, and you're just all just that full effort in those 9 lifts throughout the day. Whereas if you can take a contest like a strongman contest, Worlds is different because it's a multi-day event. But if you take like just a general contest, like a 1-day contest, it could be a case of, okay, well, we're going to start out with doing, if we take the final of World's Strongest Man technically could be done on 1 day if it wasn't for TV and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, we're going to start out with heavy carries. You've got 1,000-pound yoke into an 800+ frame carry. So there you've got
light stuff, right?
Yeah, right. So it's like, well, here's a perfect example. So one of the last big contests I did was Giant Sled North America. It was a 1-day contest.
Mm-hmm.
It ran. There was 10 or 12 of us. It ran probably about a 4-hour contest. It started out with a 900-pound yoke walk for 60 feet, I believe it was. My time was 8.53 seconds. So that's like full blow, like you're sprinting. You're sprinting. So instead of like that whole like max out effort, you've got to have a different energy system where you're sprinting down. Like, okay, got that done. Okay, next up's a press medley. So now you've got to have the conditioning to now get through four pressing implements. But then it's not just a clean and press on a log. It's like, okay, we've got to hit a dumbbell press, which is one technique. Now we're going to hit a block press. There's a second technique. Then we're going to go into an axle press. There's a third technique. And now we're going to do a log press as well. So there's a fourth. So you got those different things as well, straight into that different dynamic there. And then we had to do a deadlift for reps. So it's a 765-pound deadlift for reps. So now you've got to do and then you've got it where you're doing your deadlift, and now you got to figure it out. It's like, and it was a heavy pull,
Mhm.
and it's like, you hit your first one, you're like, okay, now I've got to keep going until I can't go anymore. So like, and then like you basically hit that. Like, so my fourth rep was a really, really hard grinder.
Oh yeah.
So you got to hit that. And I finally locked it out. It was a very hard pull. Then you put it down. You're like, okay, I've got to go. I've got to regroup and now go again because there's still time on the clock. And if I can get another rep,
Yeah.
it's going to be even more points. So it's like it's that whole thing where it's like, okay, I just like blowing my load essentially, hitting that fourth rep. Now I'm going to try and recoup in 15, maybe 20 seconds max.
Jeez.
To then go and try and get another one. Plus, like once you lose that groove, now it's like you're trying to get yourself mentally amped up to go again because you're already gasping for air, you feel blowing up, the sun's beating down, there's all that sort of stuff. So you do that. Once that event's done, it's like, pull a deadlift suit off. Now we're going to start warming up for farmer's walk and chain drag, So it's like 350 a hand farmers into a 700-pound chain. It's like a 13-second sprint again. So now you go from one full-blown event now into another heavy carry into a drag. So it's two different events and two different style techniques with that. And then to finish, you got stones as well, which is, it's a whole different ball game. So it's like, massive different energy systems, massive different, and then, you're trying to do it where, with powerlifting, if you're raw powerlifting, it's like, okay, what do I need? Belt and knee sleeves. That's it.
Right.
Singlet. Whereas in Strongman, it's like, okay, well, for this event, like for yoke, I'm going to use these shoes. I want this soft belt and this hard belt, and I want to use these knee sleeves.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, now I'm coming into log press. Well, I want different shoes. I can put my elbow sleeves on, and I've got wrist straps. I might use a different belt. Whatever. Oh, and now we've got deadlift. I'll put my deadlift suit on. I want this belt. I'm going to deadlift the socks. Do I want to use figure eight straps to get into the bar and get strapped in quicker because I'm in a deadlift suit, or can I spend the time and put regular straps on? Oh, but you know what? It's beaten down. I'm pouring sweat. If I use my regular straps, the sweat's going to get in my hands, and is my grip going to go? Then you have to take all that crap off and put all this other stuff back on. Oh, now I'm soaked in sweat, how do I avoid the sweat being on my hands for this event? And it's like, put sweatbands on and use liquid chalk and cover your hands and wrists so everything's nice and dry. And then once you do that, you got to clean all that off and then get ready for stones, where you got your sleeves or you got your tacky strip of skin, different pairs of neoprene shorts, different shoes. Do you want knee sleeves? Do you not want knee sleeves? Do you want a hard belt? Do you not want a hard belt? Like there's so much that goes into it. There's so like when I go to a contest, I've got minimum 2, 3, potentially even 4 pairs of shoes if it's truck pull as well.
Wow.
Yeah, like I go with a roller bag when I go to contest. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's a big thing. Yeah,
I had no idea. Well,
yeah.
and there's also how so. I know you talked about this a little bit earlier. How what am I trying to say? Constructed is Strongman in terms of events and the big event versus the smaller events, or is there any sort of tiering of that thing other than obviously like novice and pro and that kind of?
In terms of actually event selection, in terms of what we're doing at the contest, or
no, sorry, I mean, well, if you want to talk about that too, yeah, that'd be great. But also, like, I know World's Strongest Man is kind of the pinnacle, so like what Brian's just recent and Atomic competing in. But then I know there's tons of other events during the year. Like I know earlier or later last year, I thought it was the same event, but it was labeled something else. And how many of those are there during the years? Are there ones that are bigger, or smaller?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the pinnacle. You got World's Strongest Man. World's Strongest Man is like the most marketable. It's because it's a title. It's like the title to have as World's Strongest Man. But the payout has only just gone up. It used to not be very much.
What is it?
I believe this year was
70,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas I believe last year, I was a tester at Worlds for a couple of years. So I'm out of the loop with the exact pay dates, but it used to be 40,000.
Oh, geez.
To win World's Strongest Man. The Arnold for the last few years has been like 75, 80,000. So, you know, there's not massive money. Like, you know, you go to CrossFit game, what does CrossFit win? $250,000, 200 grand? What does the Mr. Olympia win? 300,000?
Wow.
You know, like, so like you've got that. So it's like, you know, in Europe, like you used to have like Strongman Champions League, and I mean you still have Strongman Champions League, but like, you know, it'd be a case of like, okay, well, I'm going to compete every weekend because I can make X amount of money every weekend. And that's how they can have a career.
Oh,
so you'd have that. So you'd have that sort of circuit stuff. But like, you know, in terms of the pinnacles, you got World Strongest Man, which is going to be like the most lucrative in terms of title, marketability, all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Arnold is probably the most lucrative in terms of money. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what because then you've got World Ultimate Strongman as well, because they've got different contests. I'm not sure what their payouts are, but it's like there's a bunch of there's like three federations realistically, main federations now.
Okay.
But then you've got like SCL, which is like more of a tour, and they'll have contests, like multiple contests through the year leading up to like a tour final.
Okay.
You know, you've got Giants Live, which is the official qualifying tour for World's Strongest Man. They'll have multiple shows throughout the year leading to a Giants Live final. And then, you know, I think it's top three each contest can qualify for World's Strongest Man. Worlds, if they've got it's a invite contest as well. You've got certain ways to qualify for it, but then it's invites as well. The Arnold used to be only invite. Now it's a case of it's all qualifying system for the Arnold.
Okay.
And that's why Brian didn't get that last year, because he didn't qualify. Even though he's won it multiple times, he didn't qualify, so he didn't get the Arnold.
Okay.
And then in terms of the event selection, obviously that's the other thing that makes Strongman hard. And vastly harder in terms of preparation for than say powerlifting. No, powerlifting, you've got squat, bench, deadlift. You're using, you know, potentially 3 different bars. Mm-hmm. In the IPF, you're using 1 bar.
Right.
Whereas in Strongman, it's like, okay, you know, I could have, you know, for overhead alone, you could have log press reps, axle press reps, Viking press, block, dumbbell, and maybe a max. You could have a natural stone press, which then that changes things altogether. You know, you've got different log widths. So like, you know, Gregor Emmons, who was the equipment manager for Worlds, mm-hmm. used to make a lot of their stuff. So the logs at Worlds, the old logs you see like 2012, the mm-hmm. wooden logs in the final, that's a 26-inch handle spacing. Whereas a lot of the stuff that Rogue makes is a 24. And you know, you've got the log of the Arnold, I believe is 26. It's the log of the Arnold is 24 because Slater made it, but it's not a 12-inch log. It's like an 11.7-inch log. You know, because it's made from wood. It's just a different style. You know, then you take, you know, you've probably got rough estimate 30 potential events.
Wow. Okay.
And then like say like the loading medley, the loading medley that was for the heats at World's Strongest Man this year. You know, in previous years it's been like the small beer kegs or sandbags or maybe the anvils. Yep. Well, this year, and like you're carrying it through sand or carrying it on the ground, like over tarmac, over loading it to a platform. Well, this year you had 2 big whiskey casks, which are not like they're big. They're probably 50 inches tall. They're 4 feet tall minimum. Pretty wide around, and you got to load 2 of those and an anvil, then into a frame carry. I've never actually seen that at Worlds where you've got the load stuff then into a frame carry. So like that changes the whole ball game too, because normally like once you get done, like Worlds is typically like 3 or 4 or typically 4 implements to carry and load. So we just did 3 of those implements, and then now you got to do a frame too. Or a couple of years ago, there was a medley, like a loading medley in the final. And it's like, okay, well, here's a safe. You're gonna load a safe. You don't practice, like you don't have that to practice, you know, with. They'll just be like, okay, well, what do sponsors have? For instance, like the deadlift in the final this year, like that knack deadlift. I mean, it was regular height. It was actually lower than regular height, I believe. But even that just changes it, because guys who want to roll their deadlifts in, you can't roll a steel box in. Even that changes everything. There's so many little things that change the entire plan. Like, Brian, a lot. I used to train with Brian, so he would roll his deadlifts in, so now you pull himself down and get super, super tight.
Right.
So that changes the whole thing there. So there's no rolling. You have to just figure out where you want to be, how to get tight. Force yourself into that different mentality. Or car deadlift. The car deadlift frames at Worlds are different to the car deadlift frame at X gym, which is different to the car deadlift frame at Y gym.
Yeah.
So even that changes everything. There's so many variables. It's almost, when you actually sit and talk about it, you're like, oh my God, like it's sort of overwhelming to actually really get into the depth of it.
Yeah, it was interesting talking. I talked a little bit about equipment with Gabby Burgles, America's Strongest Woman, and she mentioned the axe, or not the axle, the yoke being at a different, all different manufacturers make them all different sorts of ways. I always thought that there was some standardization across strongman. But
there used to be a thing called IFSA, International Federation of Strength Athletes. It ran for about 4 years, and they actually standardized equipment. They actually had a rule book with standard equipment. But generally, no, like there's really not, like, one thing that some guys will do is that they will know their yoke height, because what they'll do is they'll measure the bottom of the bar on their yoke they train at home. So, because when you go to con, there's no standard holes or anything. So, like, you want to, okay, well, where do I want to be? And then, but then a lot of the time it'll be a case of, oh, well, my yoke height is 54 inches. Oh, well, I can choose either 52 or I can choose 56. What do I want? And then that changes based upon, well, how heavy is it? How heavy is it? Am I injured? Like, if it's a really, really heavy yoke, but once you've got it up that you can move with it and you can really haul ass.
Yep.
You might choose that 52-inch pick, because then means that when you're running with it, if you get off balance all and it swings, you're not going to catch an edge.
Right.
Whereas if you choose the 56, then you'll get off balance. You could dig the front in, and now you have to pick it up all over again. So even that's the strategy wise comes into that too.
Interesting. Yeah, well, and I think that's what the appeal, for me personally, that's why I like watching some of the strongman stuff, because of such the things they, like you mentioned, the safe, like the weird things they throw at people. It's kind of fun to watch, because you don't know, if you don't know what to expect, that kind of increases the intrigue of the entire event, especially if the audience doesn't even know right up until the final day.
Yeah. No, and that's it. It's like, like when they announce stuff like, oh, it's going to be Titans turntables. Well, what's Titans turntable? It turns out it's a damn train turntable with a trainer on it that the guys are going to push around in a circle. It's like, you can't really train for that.
No.
You can do little things. You can do a vertical push, or you can do a yoke push, or whatever it may be. But overall, like, you can't really train for some of this stuff. Same with the deadlift. Like, okay, I'm going to deadlift. It's a 770 deadlift for reps. Cool, no problem. I'll train that. But then when you've got a longer bar, and the thing is, the bars at Worlds, they're thicker as well. It's an Ironman SQ bar with, like, I think the total length is like 14 feet.
Wow.
The sleeves are huge. So just even like that, having that bit of a thicker bar changes the way you want to pull. And then again, you can't roll it. You can't whatever. It's just everything just changes. It's really, really just, you go to context, you're like, okay, well, I know some of the events, but then you don't know them as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Is with strongman equipment, I'm assuming, because of the weights that they're pulling, that it's got to be constructed to just be absolutely freaking indestructible. What's the composition of some of the, like, these wraps and the shoes that you guys are wearing? I mean, are they overbuilt on purpose, or are they kind of built like you would see any other powerlifting equipment?
I mean, they can be certain things, like some of our stuff is like, say, our sandbags, for instance. It's like, I'm trying to think, it's like, I think it's like four. I have it on the website. I should have double checked it all.
That's okay.
But it's like 4 bonded or 4 layers, and then bonded thread and all that sort of stuff, and triple stitching and all that sort of stuff, just to make sure, because if you're throwing down a 200-pound sandbag, one of the problems they'll get is that people won't fill them up as much. They'll be like, oh, well, I only want, so this sandbag's going to take it's 100 kilo capacity because all sorts of metric.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's going to take about 220 pounds of sand. But then it's like, okay, well, depending on the sand as well, that changes it too.
Right.
So it's like, oh, if I only want a 200-pound bag, if you put it in, well, when you drop it, the sand moves around. Excuse me. So what that then does is that if you have that movement of material, that's going to put extra force in the seams. So all that stuff has to be reinforced massively so that you're not going to have any problems of a seam blowing out or things of that nature, And then when it comes to stuff like, wrist straps, for instance, well, we're notoriously aggressive at times with our stuff. And, you're putting it on aggressively, you're amped up for a max log or whatever it may be. So even like certain things have to be stitched on a bit harder, just to ensure that you're not going to pull the Velcro tab off, or you're not going to pull the elastic loop off, or things like that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I just the amount of weights you guys are pulling are just mind blowing to me. Thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. And two, the one thing I wanted to ask too, you mentioned that one event that you were in where it's a bunch of stuff almost back to back for, what did you say, 4 hours? Whereas with some of these events, it's over the course of multiple days. Are they still stacking things that close together? Or are they giving people time to breathe in between and spacing it out?
No, what they'll do is with Worlds, because they'll do set changes and all that sort of stuff, like you may have an event at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So say, for instance, like all the groups did that medley, the first medley. So they all did that. So then you've got to reset it at each time too. And then once you finish with that, I'm trying to think what event it was on. I believe they had squat or deadlift on day 1 too.
Okay.
So it's like, like say for instance, you're group 5 and you have, or else say for instance, you got your group 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going at 9 a.m. You're doing your medley, but now you've got deadlift as well. But they're going to do squat first, and then they're going to do deadlift afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be deadlifting it until 5 p.m.
Oh wow. Okay.
Whereas in a one, so like you have a bit more recovery, like a lot more recovery time, but then on the other side of that is that you now have to like switch on for that medley, bring it all down for the rest of the day and chill out, and then bring it back up at 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you're doing like an arena show, like British Strongest Man or Giant, like the Giants Live arena show, or you're doing like some of the Giants Live stuff here, where it's like this live crowd, and obviously World's live crowd was a different type of live crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you've got like a live crowd for one of those cons, like, okay, we've got 10 guys, we're going to run through this, and it's just like go. Okay, yoke's done, pull it out, guys. You've got 10 minutes. Like wow. When we did British Strongest Man, there was 10 of us, 10 or 12. I can't remember what it was. We did 5 events in 3 hours, and that was log press ladder. Then we had car deadlift. So those 2 were set up simultaneously. So that as soon as we were on car deadlift, the logs were out and they were getting everything else set up. We did car deadlift, and then we had to go into loaded medley. Once that was done, then it's like we go into another like a static hold, like a hammer hold,
mm-hmm.
and then into stone. So something else. Oh, yoke, and then you got yoke walks. So as soon as that's done, then the yokes are coming in, and then as soon as that's done, you got what's it called? Stones. So everything's staged. Like everything's in the behind. When we did British Strongest Man at Sheffield Arena, like you have the first 2 events staged, literally as you the background and behind the curtain, you've got the yokes are ready to go, which are on dollies, so that as soon as something comes out, they can be wheeled in straight away.
Wow.
The stones are all on all on a pallet, so it can be straight in. It's a big production, and it runs really, really fast at times. So it just changes how you do it as well, because you don't have time to calm down. You're just amped up, and then you're amped up the entire day, and then for each event you're peaking and peaking and peaking and peaking.
Yeah.
So you get done with 3, 4, 5 hour show, And it's like, okay, I'm fucking shot,
Yeah.
like I'm absolutely shot. Oh, now that, hey guys, you're going to do a VIP meet and greet after that, which I mean, I'm fine with it. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
bother me one bit. I enjoy that sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, get back to the hotel. Oh, hey, we've got dinner for all the athletes and guests and stuff. That's going to be in an hour's time. So you're literally back to the hotel. You're trying to clean tack you up. You're trying to bring yourself down, get cleaned up, ready to go out, and then chill out and all that sort of stuff. So it's
Oh my
definitely a
word.
day, definitely a day, or a couple of days at times.
Yeah, no kidding. So my question is, how in the heck do you keep from passing out? Because you're literally maxing out every single, like if you're back to back to back, you're maxing everything out. I can't imagine the kind of conditioning and not, well, focus, yes, but conditioning and the amount of training you have to do leading up to it. But like your ability to produce force has to go down at least somewhat over that 3 or 4 hour stretch, or is it just the adrenaline's pumping the entire
A,
time
a
and so that
lot, a
keeps you
lot,
up?
a lots of adrenaline, but then a lot of stuff like, the training environment. Like it's real. I mean, like if you actually look at a strongman contest,
Mhm.
like say like Giants Live, for instance, the one in North America. Realistically, my total output for the day, you're looking at 3 minutes, maybe
Okay.
three, because you got like, okay, well, I did the yoke in 10 seconds, in like 8.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's done. Oh, and now I'm doing the press medley in, I think I did it in the three. I did three. I think I did 3 and 35.
Okay.
So so there's 43 seconds.
Hmm.
Okay, deadlift, you're probably looking at 45, 50 seconds, probably 30, 45 seconds.
Hmm.
So now you're saying a minute and a half, for instance. Okay, well, and then you've got that. So now what's next? You've got the farmers and drag.
Hmm.
That's 13 seconds. So now you're at like what? A minute 50,
Hmm.
and then 25, 30 seconds for stones. So realistically, you're not even hitting 3 minutes of work. But when we're training, like it's multiples like today. So for my training system today was a pump through, it was an upper body pump through to then prep peak for tomorrow.
Hmm.
But the very first thing I did is it's called heart shock.
Okay.
It's basically you're gonna jog for 100 feet, then you're sprinting 100 feet, and then you're dragging a sled for 100 feet.
Ooh.
So it's only a 300-pound sled, but it's 100 feet on asphalt. There's stones everywhere. There's like the asphalt's being fixed. So when you hit those fixes where it's like that like those, I don't know what they use, like just
Patches.
like
Yeah, yeah,
almost patches. So it's like, okay, so it hits that and then you slow down, then you got to try and speed up again. So you finish that. It's about like a minute of work for that, probably less at times. Then you got 90 seconds rest and you got to go again. So then you're just peaked. And then like you go into, okay, now I've got to do 100 band pull aparts. Then I'm going to do this superset, with 2 sets of superset with 2 exercises. Is a minute of work each. So there's 2 minutes of work.
yeah. Hmm.
So a minute off, and then into again. Oh, now I've got 3 sets of 0 acceleration pull downs with 10 reps with a minute and a half of rest. So now you're looking at that's like a minute of work, and then a minute and a half, and then a minute of work, and a minute and a half, and then you've got something else to finish. Whereas then tomorrow, it's like we've got the warm-up stuff, and it's like six fours on deadlift with 2 minutes rest, and then we're going into, I think it's like row. I think it's Penley rows,
Hmm.
and then you got to do this other thing. So it's like it's a lot of like a lot of volume at times,
Yeah.
with short rest periods. So your conditioning goes way up, and then just conditioning work in general as well.
Hmm.
Just be cardio. Be able to like have your cardio, because if you have like your cardio is high, then you can just recover faster through the whole day. And I mean, yeah, your power output is going to come down slightly, but realistically, because we're so conditioned to just putting out a lot of volume in like a 2 hour period and like going constantly, and that's one thing like my coach really pushes hard, is like keep going, don't rest too much, like just keep
Oh,
going.
wow.
Once you've hit your thing, get into the next one, just keep banging through, type of thing. Like when you get done with it, like you have that little bit of downtime to then get ready, you can pull it down, but then like the adrenaline is so high as well.
Hmm.
Like it's like the adrenaline peaks are massive. So even though you might be tired, it's like, you know, especially if you're in front of a live crowd,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, okay, it's go time. It's like you just sort of condition yourself mentally as well. It's like, okay, even though I'm tired, this has to, like, I can't slack at this. I have to go balls to the wall, and get it done, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about your training that you're doing
Yep.
and what kind of events you're going for. So can you talk a little bit about the kinds of things that you have to do to get ready
Sure.
for Strongman?
So yeah, so I mean, I've got like so the contest I've got coming up is called Official Strongman Games. It's in November. It's done in
Okay.
Daytona Beach. The events is a 3-day contest. So it's a little bit more like Worlds
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot more. There's a lot of classes there
Mm-hmm.
for different, for men and women, different weight classes and all that sort of stuff. But my events is we log press for reps. So it's clean once and do as many reps as possible. You can put it down if you want and re-clean it and hit more reps in it. But it's a minute time limit. So that's 265 pounds for as many reps overhead as you can.
Wow.
So that's event one on day one. Event two on day one is 1,000-pound car yoke for, I think it's 50 feet.
Right.
Fastest time wins. So you got that. So for right now, we're just focusing on log, getting technique dialed in again. I've been push pressing a lot because I was like, okay, well, if I used to jerk all my stuff, and I was like, well, if I do push press, maybe I'll be a bit more stable for you know, just consecutive reps.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really translating. So it's like, okay, let's go back to the jerk because like the way I want to have it in my rack position, my power generation is not transferring through.
Hmm.
So now it's like, okay, let's just shift back to the jerk on this coming Monday, and we'll change all that stuff and we'll dial that in. We've not hit yoke yet, and we hit farmers very mildly just to have some moving stuff. We're working on conditioning a lot right now, because I mean, having been in the sport for so long,
Mm-hmm.
I know how to do yoke walk. You know, so that now it's just getting the legs conditioned and all that sort of stuff. So day two is going to be deadlift. There's a deadlift ladder, so it's 4 deadlifts on 4 different bars. So you have to deadlift. The first one's 675. I can't remember what the numbers 2 and 3 are. The last one's 815.
Okay.
So you have to pull your first one and then transition to each bar as well. And then they've got a carry and drag method. So that's where this conditioning stuff's coming in, where it's like, so for that one, it's a 300-pound sandbag for 50 feet, run back, grab a 320-pound Husafel stone, carry that for 50 feet, then drag the whole sled back 50 feet. So that's where this is coming in, where it's like, you know, the short jog, or the slowest jog for the 100 feet, sprinting back the 100, like a transition for coming back to another implement, and then getting into the drag and just pumping the legs so that when it comes to contest, we're not like my because I mean a lot of it's anaerobic capacity versus aerobic, you know. Like even though you're breathing, you're draining yourself pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So being able to just keep driving through, even if you're tired, and keep the speed going with the leg movement, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you got those, and then we have day 3 is the throw bags, which in itself is not like that's a whole different approach. Where it's like something like a log press, you can be super aggressive with, because you have to, like, you can muscle it and all that sort of stuff. With a throw bag, you want to be so low key and calm that it's unreal, because as soon as you get aggressive and you start trying to throw them, then you start muscling, you start flexing, you stop extending. So then you actually lose power and lose transferability because you're trying too hard. So that use a different approach, and then stones is the last event. So like we've tested, basically this is where some of my stuff is. Like we know, like my first stone session back in about 2 years, I think it was, I hit a 370 stone for reps. So I'm like, okay, I'm not worried about that one, you know.
Yeah.
But throw bags, because I'm so used to being aggressive, that's where we're like, okay, like bring it down, keep it lower key, and you know, work on that mentality of relax and, you know, power it through type of thing, you know. So a lot of the stuff right now is, you know, we have like repeatability days where it's like basically just this upper body session where it's like, you know, do all the heart shock stuff and then do the pump through blood flow, like hypertrophy work type of thing. Because everything is so posterior chain, that's where we're hitting a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
And then, on day 2, it's going to be like the log press stuff. So we're hitting all our log, we're hitting then tricep specific stuff in terms of like floor press.
Mm-hmm.
And then tomorrow it's all deadlift. And then, pendlay row for picking a sandbag up off the floor. And then just hamstrings, just for general hamstring strength, power, health, all that sort of stuff,
Sure. So in terms of days on versus days off, are you taking any days off during the week generally?
Yeah, right now I've got 3 off.
Okay, 3 off. Okay.
3 off. So the way I sort of do it is this week is a bit different. Like weather and stuff. When you have to go outside and do throw bags, you sort of have to dictate the weather a little bit.
Right.
If I, even like sled drag wouldn't be as bad because it's like I can drag a sled in the rain. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
But throw bags are a little bit different because you're trying to be so explosive. You're trying to you've got to hold on to the bag and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like, normally what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do like Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
And then have my weekend because my gym's inside my warehouse.
Okay.
I have my own private gym in there. So I'm like,
Nice.
if I can have my weekend away, then it just lets me de-stress from work as a whole. Whereas this week I did like, Monday, Tuesday, took a couple of days off because I was feeling pretty tired. Did today, and then I'll go to a different gym in the morning because it's just deadlift. I don't have to have specialist stuff, and that gets me out of my gym, gets me in a different environment, lets me chill out a little bit more. And then like on the off days, it's a case of I'll take the dog for a walk, and we try and hit like 7.5. 7.5 to 10,000 steps a day is what we're aiming for.
Okay.
I'll do recovery work. So I got like the power dots. I'll put those on. Normally, like what I'll do is I'll get home from training or work, get my dinner ready. I put toe spreaders in, and I sit and put a movie on because I've got one of my issues is my foot health.
Okay.
Got really flat feet, so we're trying to get that arch going again. So trying to do that stuff. Trying to do just general rehab, mobility work. There's a hell of a lot that goes into. So realistically, while it is an off day, it's not an off day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's always something to be done.
Sure. No, that totally makes sense. Can you talk a little bit about the mindset too, in terms of training, and how much of that mindset you need to have carry over into the actual events? What would you say? Say, for example, you can deadlift, 1,200 or 1,500 pounds, but the event itself is only going to be 1,000, and you go in knowing that. But how much of it is the mental aspect percentage wise, and how much of it is like, I know physically I can actually do this crap?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is, just knowing you can do it and being comfortable with that. That makes a big thing because, if you go into an event, and you see this a lot with amateur athletes where they will be like, oh well, I've hit the contest weight before. I've hit contest weight before, but I need to hit it again before contest. Like, why? What? Yeah, you already know you're strong. You know you're strong enough at the start of your training cycle. So why would you not be strong enough now? You see this a lot with with moving events. Oh, well, I need to hit contest yoke again. Like, you don't. Like, just work on speed. Like, work on foot speed. Work on moving ability and all that sort of stuff, so that you're actually moving well. But a lot of it is, and I've been guilty of it as well in the past, where it's like, oh, I need to know I'm strong. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, for me now, like, a lot of it is like, okay, I know where I sit, type of thing. But then, I mean, even when it comes down to this, having that confidence, but even having the confidence in what your abilities are, sometimes it just doesn't go to plan. And then that's where it's a whole other mindset where it's like, being able to be like, okay, well, if event 1 sucked, I still have another 4 events or 5 events today. How do I get my mind off of this one and then move on to the second one and actually have a good event here? Because I've seen it many, many times where, like, oh, well, it's like, oh, well, log press, for instance, sucked. Log sucks, log sucks, log sucks, log sucks. Oh, I'm up on yoke. Yoke, oh my God, yoke sucks too. Oh, I just had 2 bad events. Oh, and you're focusing all on those bad. Whereas it's a case of like, oh, and like, no, like, okay, log suck, but now I can still make up points here,
Right.
So it's just like, the mentality and the mental approach of it is a massive thing. And I think it changes with age as well, honestly. For me, like, when I was a younger athlete in this, I was confident, but there was still like that doubt,
Okay.
And then the other side of it is actually enjoying it. That was one thing I didn't do a lot of the time. Was I took it extremely seriously, and obviously it is very serious. And you want to progress in the sport, but I always found when I had my best results in contest was when I actually was like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to enjoy being here. I'm not going to put stress on myself. I know I can do this stuff, and just do what you like. Just do what you know you can do. And if it's good enough, it's good enough. If it's not, and someone beats you, then shit, okay, that's the way it goes. And that was like, whenever I had my best results, it's like I just enjoyed being there.
Sure.
I've been very focused and very switched on.
Yeah.
But just enjoying the whole deal too. So like the mentality of it is it's just different, and it's like I mean it's just different from going to a powerlifting contest where it's like amped up and whatever. Like it's just changed because again, like you can go in and it's like even in warm-ups. I mean, this carries into powerlifting too, where like warm-ups can be feeling like crap, or they can be feeling great, and then you step out onto the platform and it's just completely U-turns, and then for what was feeling great now feels like crap, and you missed what you were going to do. Or then the other problem you've got is that at times at strongman contests you may warm up on implements, and then they'll take them away to go to do the event. So now what do you keep warming up? So then they have it a lot at the amateur level, where it's like, oh well, we need X implement for all these lightweight classes, but you're the last heavyweight going, and you're going now 2 hours later. So how do you not? So now you've warmed up.
Oof.
How do you actually now go into the event when you've not had hands on with anything for 2 hours? There's no point warming up beforehand. So like even that changes the dynamic of stuff.
Yeah. Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
There's a lot that goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back a little bit to Cerberus in the business, have you been able to develop or design any of sorry, I lost mine. There we go. Any of the equipment that you see out on the website, or are you taking and iterating on a lot of the stuff that's out there and trying to make it better?
We've had some stuff. We've been in the sport for so long. You train with certain things like different sleeves, different belts, and things of that nature. And you're like, okay, well, this has been around for 15 years.
Yeah.
But this could be so much better.
Yeah.
So we'll make some changes on that. Whereas this other stuff, it's a case of we'll go and make our own stuff as well. So I've had stuff where it's like, oh hey, can you test this? Get X product sent over, and we'll sit and work on all that sort of stuff. And it's like, like this is actually like just different from something we've had before. And the nice thing is because we've all been in it for so long, we sort of know where things stand and what actually helps the athlete and what doesn't.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you're living and breathing strongman, so I'm sure that's extremely helpful. And do you guys get together virtually too to discuss?
We will.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like we have like a pretty much an open door policy, the three of us, where it's like, now it's harder because we're all so busy.
Yeah.
Especially the guys at head office. But I mean, if we don't even phone call, we'll video call. Every single time I got to talk to the guys, it's all video call. Unless we're driving, and then it goes obviously just through the truck. But yeah, we'll have stuff when I go back to Scotland to visit family. I'll go into head office and we'll sit down, we'll talk and all that sort of stuff, and we'll go through what's coming up, or what could we do better, what's maybe a shortcoming, or what do we have in the pipeline that it's a good product, but we're not ready to release it yet because there's certain like we won't typically put anything out unless it's like we're on point with it.
Yeah.
So it's like even that, it's like like our soft belt. That soft belt was in development for 4 years.
Wow.
3 or 4 years. Because like, this is just it's not ticking all the boxes. Like we're not putting it out. Like let's make it good. Like do it the way we want to do it versus just putting it out there.
Right. Or just cranking something out from a factory just to
Exactly.
make, just to copy somebody
Yeah.
else. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's any new designs coming down the pipeline that you're excited about or are you able to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. There's some stuff I can't really talk about. The one thing I'm really excited about is we've got our barbells coming. So like the UK,
Nice.
the guys in the UK have all their stuff. Mine is currently in transit. Leave end of July. So we've got like a power bar, squat bar, deadlift bar,
Nice.
a GP, which is just a Cerakote finish general purpose bar, and we actually have a safety bar coming as well.
I saw that. Yeah, that looks awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yes, I'm super excited about that because that's the one thing I don't get the hands on with because it's a lot harder to get products like that over here.
Yeah.
Versus a sock product where it can go in a mailer, So I mean, I do have one of the original prototype deadlift bars. That's what I pull in every week, and I love it. So I'm excited to get all that stuff over here. And then we just released a new smelling salt a couple of days ago. It's like a eucalyptus and menthol. I don't know if we have it over here, but there's back home. There's a thing called it's called Mackenzie's smelling salts. So it's like a different brand, and they're old, so they're old school. And that was like what all the original like smelling salts were back in the day. With like over here, like obviously it's like the snap caps. Back home, it was like okay, like you go to like Boots the chemist, and you have this little. It was like a little. It's like it literally would come in a brown glass jar. This was little thing with a little cap, and it was like they were really good. So like that was one thing. Like we have like the 3 Hellfire, and it's going to be a part of the Hellfire range as well. So it's just called Hellfire Sub-Zero, and that one's I'm really looking forward to because that was like it's almost like a throwback to the old school type of salts,
Yeah.
So that's one that because it's like for me, like I'll use like our regular ones. I'll use our Extreme. I don't use our Hades because it's so goddamn strong. It's for me, it's too much. I can't.
Wow.
I don't know how people handle it. I saw Dave Tate with Elite. They put a video up a couple of weeks ago where he cranked it and just boom. I was like, dude, you're a fucking madman. No, I don't know how he did it. And then, so for me, getting these are that's on a boat right now, or actually, yeah, I think he went on a boat today. So that's here in that's stateside in a couple of weeks. I'm like actually really excited about that because that's like that old school throwback. I'm really amped up for those to come across.
Nice. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
What is it in those ammonia the way they make them that makes it stronger or less strong? Is it the concentration of ammonia, or is it some other ingredient?
It's gonna be the concentration as well as just the amount, honestly.
Okay.
And that's gonna be what it comes down to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't personally use them. I just know that they're nasty. they'll wake you up.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely do. And then for me now, it's like like there's times where I know I don't need them, but I'll use them because it's such a mental cue now as well. Having used them for 15 years, it's like that other extra little switch that flips.
Yep. Yeah, they're getting increasingly popular. I remember I don't think I saw a single person using ammonia as of maybe even probably 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden they just started popping up freaking everywhere. So that was it. That was really interesting. I wonder why. Was there a reason that they started getting more popular?
I mean, you had some of the original brands which were popular a lot. I mean, I think what really sort of changed it was like people would start doing like scented ones.
Okay.
I think that sort of changed it a little bit.
Okay.
It's not really my style, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
If I'm using ammonia, I don't need my ammonia to smell like whiskey, or I need to smell like whatever. The menthol and eucalyptus, yes, because it just opens you up a bit more,
Yeah.
That's what I found. But yeah, I don't need it to smell like unicorn poop or whatever. Oh, fucking God, I have no idea what they do nowadays.
Massonomics came out with one that was like ale scented. I'm like, who?
Yeah.
Like, you guys.
Couldn't focus on it. I wouldn't be able to focus on it.
Right.
I'm like, I don't think it smells like ale. I'm not sure. I love the guys at Massonomics, but for me, I'm like, I'll just stick to the regular stuff.
Yeah, it's like I want a beer now. Seriously.
Well, that's it, yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad your training is going so well. And you said that that event is going to be in November of this year?
Yeah, November. Yeah, I think it's 12th to 14th. I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And is that something that people are going to be able to watch as it's happening, or are they going to record it?
I believe there's a live stream. As far as I'm aware, there's a live stream. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So if you go to like official, like I think it's like a strongman.games is their website.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being willing to come on and talk through not only Cerberus, but also Strongman in general. That was,
Sure.
I don't get to talk to a lot of people about that particular sport because it's still, like you said, it's still coming on. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the future and what that has in store, and what the kinds of things and that are being marketed around that sport. So can you tell people where they can find you and obviously find Cerberus?
Yep. So for me personally, all my social media is KN Strongman.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cerberus, you've got Cerberus_strength is the main page, and then you've got Cerberus_strength_USA is our USA Instagram. And then if you just literally, if you're on Facebook, you just type in Cerberus Strength USA, you'll find it'll pop right up. And then in terms of the website for if you want to buy any of our products, it's Cerberus-strength.us.
Fantastic. All righty, Ken. Well, best of luck. We'll be tracking you in your training, and I wish you all the best, and I hope first place finish in November for sure.
Me too. Thanks. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Take care, Ken.
Thanks, man. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please give FreedomCast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean a lot to our business. Plus, it's fun to read y'all's reviews. See you next time.